One got knocked down, he won't get up again. The other went knocked him down. One got knocked down, and now he's fucking dead. The other went knocked him out. Combo breaker!
What's gonna work? Teamwork! Well, teams of 4 designated by color, full of teenagers with completely different personalities and weapons and fighting styles that perfectly reflect that. Yeah, you didn't think these two had a theme and there was a reason for them to fight. Well, there's some other themes here. They're all the same gender and both have a 0-2 win-loss record on my show. Yeah, so this match is gonna be a redemption for one team and a nail in the coffin for the other.
Alright, let's start this thing off right with the Ninja Turtles. We'll be using the 4Kids versions and we'll not be allowing their Key-empowered form or Dragon form, just for fairness sake. So, the 4 turtles, being Michelangelo, Raphael, Leonardo, and Donatello, all have one power they share, and that's a healing factor. Other than that, they all use unique weapons. Leonardo wields 2 katanas. Up next, my favorite turtle, Donatello, wields a bow staff. Michelangelo wields 2 sets of nunchucks, and Raphael wields his dual-wield sais, which are pretty useful for snapping swords, if I do say so myself. They also all carry some ninja stars. So thankfully all 4 turtles have the same feats and accomplishments, so this will be nice and easy. All 4 of them can easily slash through robots, overpower enemies like the Hun, and even fight the Shredder, and they can even shatter mountains. They've dodged lightning, lasers, and gunfire, as well as attacks from the Shredder with next to no difficulty. And, it was rather easy for them. They've survived hits from the Tengu, a sword that can shatter cities, and they've endured attacks from mutants that can even shake the city. Plus, they've survived attacks from ancient demons. Now, the 4 turtles are a great team, skilled in assassination, ninjutsu, armed and unarmed combat, and have fought a series of opponents ranging from robots to aliens to mutants. But they do have their flaws. As you can probably guess, they do fight amongst themselves quite a bit. Raphael tends not to listen and will butt heads with Leonardo all the time, and Michelangelo doesn't take anything seriously, which can be problematic in combat, and has led to their defeat more than once. Team RWBY. I like this anime. It may not seem like it because Yang has single-handedly made RWBY have the most awful win-loss record ever on my show, but let's go ahead and talk about Team RWBY, being Yang, Blake, RWBY, and Weiss. So, starting out with Yang, my favorite of the group, Yang can use her aura to block attacks, heal, unlock other people's auras, and even create force fields. She also has this cool semblance where she basically can take damage and convert it into strength for herself, but she still does feel the full brunt of the damage. So let's move on to Blake, the black cat girl thing chick, and what she can actually do. Thanks to her cat-like features, she has super hearing and night vision. She also creates force fields with her aura and even has can enhance her strength with her aura. She also can enhance her other senses even farther using her aura, as well as heal herself at a somewhat low rate, but also at a pretty high to a higher rate if necessary. And she can also create shadow clones of herself. Up next, we've got Ruby Rose, and her aura is capable of all the same things that Blake and Yang's can, but Ruby can also increase her speed using her semblance, and using her silver eyes, she can immobilize her foes. And finally, we have Weiss. Weiss's powers are quite weird. She's got the same aura powers as the rest of the 3, but she has some more powers of her own. Using her semblance, she can create and step on. She can create platforms to step on, and even allow her to run up 90-degree fucking angles. She also has homing attacks she can summon, and even creatures. She can actually summon the past foes that she's beaten. Alright, now onto their weapons and special abilities. Yang wields her Ember Celia, the most badass weapon in fiction. They're bracelets that turn to gauntlets that can fire energy projectiles, and she can punch people and surfaces so hard they create shock waves. Now, Blake wields a sword and a scythe-type weapon thing that's attached to a string that's also a pistol. With this, she also carries some dust rounds that allow her to fire ice, and earth bullets. Ruby Rose wields the Crescent Moon, which is a large scythe that doubles as a high-caliber sniper rifle that can fire lightning, fire, and ice, and even gravity bullets. Weiss wields a rapier, which is a sword that can manipulate ice, fire, lightning, as well as gravity and wind. She also summoned previously defeated foes, as I mentioned before. Now, all 4 of Team RWBY have very similar feats and can scale to one another, so this will be a nice, easy section. Weiss is strong enough to pierce the Nevermore with an ice mountain, and Ruby's able to take down the Nevermore with nothing but her scythe. And not to mention Yang and Blake have also taken on large Grims on their own as well. Blake's easily able to dodge electricity from the Grim Sea Serpent, and Ruby's caught up to Neapolitan and caught him off guard a few times, and she can escape Mercury Black, and the other 2 girls are very comparable to them in stats. Yang's been punched through a large stone pillar, and they've survived attacks from large Grims and other heavy-hitting characters in the RWBY universe. And as for all 4 of them, they're highly trained warriors and masters at using their weapons, and not to mention just fighting monsters and working together. They're a rather capable team, and they will assist each other in combat all the time, even teaming up for complex plans and team attacks. But why they are a team, they do fight amongst themselves a little bit, and the personalities do clash. And Yang is a bit of a hothead, Weiss is stubborn, and Yang does have problems fighting people who kick and dodge a lot, but altogether they're a great team. Team RWBY is wandering the streets where a ninja star flies at Yang, who turns and shoots out of the sky. Raphael and the other 3 turtles hop down and look at the 4 girls. Leonardo rushes at Blake and swings her swords, but she blocks it with her sword. Raphael smiles cockily as Yang rushes over and jumps at him, jumps and launches him into the city with a powerful attack. Yang then follows afterwards. Michelangelo rushes at RWBY, who dodges and kicks him into the city and runs after him. Weiss stands there eloquently as Donatello spins his staff. Donatello then jumps into the city for a stealth advantage as Weiss rushes after him. Weiss creates a series of platforms and climbs to the roof where she sees him. She looks confused as Donatello hops from the shadows and kicks her in the back of the head. Weiss stumbles forward and Donatello spins his staff and hits her in the side with it. Weiss turns and slashes Donatello, launching ice shards at him. Donatello turns and blocks with his shell, but Weiss dashes forward and stabs Donatello, who tries to dodge, but the sword pierces straight through his left arm. She then pulls the blade out, and Donatello jumps off the building and through a window, and takes cover in the darkness. Weiss hops in and looks around. A ninja star flies through the darkness and hits Weiss in the chest. Donatello then jumps from the shadows, grabs her, and slams her head down on some broken glass, impaling her head on the glass, killing her. Michelangelo stops himself and looks around to see RWBY laying in front of him. RWBY rushes over and swings her scythe at Michelangelo, who ducks and kicks RWBY in the gut. He then grabs his skateboard and swings it upwards, hitting her in the head. RWBY flies back and lands against the building. Michelangelo then gets on a skateboard and rides at RWBY, who aims her scythe and fires a bullet at Michelangelo that hits him in the chest, making him fall off his skateboard and feel a severe burn in his chest. RWBY then rushes over and leaps into the air and slashes down at Michelangelo, who barely dodges it and hits her in the head with his nunchucks. RWBY stumbles back, holding her head as Michelangelo sucker punches her and follows up with an uppercut, yelling, "Shoryuken!" RWBY then lands and looks at Michelangelo, celebrating like an idiot. RWBY rushes over and rips him clean in half with one swift strike of her scythe. Raphael and Yang are fighting as Raphael is dodging Yang's barrage of attacks in a quick assault. And then she is stopped as she's struck by Donatello in the back by a staff. Yang's eyes turn red as she sucker punches Donatello, launching him into a wall. Raphael then jumps at Yang while her back is turned, but his sides are stopped by RWBY's scythe. Yang looks back at her sister and nods her head. Donatello stands back up, and Raphael and Donatello charge at the two. RWBY ducks, and Yang jumps over and slams her fist down Raphael on his head, then fires a shot, slamming his head to the ground. RWBY swings her scythe upwards, going straight through Donatello, ripping his head clean off. Raphael stands back up, and Yang smiles before ducking, and RWBY blows his head off with a trail of flames coming from her scythe. Leonardo kicks Blake, breaking away their sword clash. Yang and RWBY rush over to see Leonardo in perfect condition. Yang rushes over and tries to punch Leonardo, who hops up and kicks her in the head, knocking her down. Blake rushes at Leonardo, but quickly turns and decapitates her. But as her head falls off, the body fades, and Leonardo looks around as Blake dive kicks down at him. Leonardo blocks and then attacks with both of his swords, leaving him open. RWBY then loads a bullet up and fires into Leonardo's leg, electrocuting him. Leo falls to one knee as Leonardo pushes Blake off and throws a ninja star at RWBY, hitting her in the neck, causing her to fall down and bleed to death. Yang stands back up with a large yellow aura flaming around her as she punches Leonardo full force. Leonardo blocks, but the shockwave sends him flying through a building. Blake jumps in the building as Leonardo goes to stab her, but she dashes past him and stabs Leonardo straight through the back. Yang rushes over and uppercuts Leonardo and fires a shot, launching his head into the air. She then fires multiple shots, blowing his head up in mid-air, just making it rain down blood. Yang and Blake retract their weapons and go to check on the others. Our winner is Team RWBY. So at first glance at base stats, the members of Team RWBY are massively hypersonic and at their best have shown multi-city block to small town level feats. TMNT on the other hand is massively hypersonic and town level. So in base stats, TMNT has a slight strength and durability edge, but let's talk powers and arsenal. You see, TMNT have one power, which is a small healing factor, which is useful, but Team RWBY's semblance allows them to do much more, including healing at a much faster rate. They also gain super senses, and they can do other things like create force fields. Then you throw in their semblances like Yang's ever-rising strength, RWBY's speed boost, and Blake's clones, and you start to see a very clear advantage for Team RWBY. Now on to weaponry. Team TMNT has standard ninja weapons, but they are masters of wielding them, But here's the thing, Team RWBY also has a better arsenal. They've got shotgun gauntlets, sniper size, scythe pistols, rapiers that have elemental powers. Those weapons are very strange and complicated, and I can guarantee you the TMNT have never had to deal with weapons like these. Now, if we look at the TMNT's weapons in the perspective of the RWBY characters, they're much easier and more standard, thus they're more predictable to figure out what they're gonna do. So what about the Turtles' stealth? Well, yeah, we've seen people like the Shredder and even Bebop and Rocksteady land hits on the TMNT, so it's not like their stealth is flawless, and Team RWBY is very well trained and even has super senses, so they'll be able to get around this stealth, but it will take a little bit of effort. Finally, teamwork. Neither team is perfect, but the TMNT clash with one another like way too much, especially Raphael and Leonardo. This can be a huge problem in a battle, especially when the people they're fighting are, this close in stats. Now, I get that they are brothers and they love each other and they're going to work together to try and keep the other one safe. But in comparison, they always clash even if they are in danger. And yeah, there is that we need to keep them safe, but they're more likely to clash than Team RWBY. And here's what I mean. Yes, Team RWBY does argue, but not as often on missions. Hell, they don't argue all that much on missions like ever. While none of them are related except for Yang and RWBY, they do care for one another tremendously and have gone out of their way to block attacks for them or even help them out in combat, doing team-up attacks and doing whatever they can to keep the other one safe. I mean, honestly, their bond of friendship is ridiculous. So, with even slightly worse stats, but the ways to make up the stat gap, better arsenal, better teamwork, and ways around what little advantages the TMNT had, our winner is Team RWBY.